Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're exploring the universal human search for inner calm through two ancient and honestly incredibly powerful lenses. We're diving deep into the Stoic and the Sage, comparing paths to peace. It's a fascinating look at exactly how we navigate chaos, handle serious adversity, and ultimately find some tranquility when life just gets completely overwhelming. I mean, let's be real for a second. Which philosophy actually works? Because when you get abruptly cut off in traffic, or, you get that panic-inducing late-night email from your boss, all those nice theoretical ideas, they completely fly out the window. We need tools that function under pressure. So we're exploring these two ancient systems, not as some dusty history lesson, but as high-stakes, functional toolkits for everyday life. We are judging these systems based entirely on their real-world utility. Section 1. The Quest for Peace. Two paths, one goal.
Okay, let's dive into this. Peace is not just some accident, right? It isn't a fleeting mood you just randomly wake up with or a gift handed to you on a silver platter. Peace is a destination, and getting there requires a real journey. It demands a specific philosophical vehicle to actually transport you. You have to actively walk a path to get the result. And walking a path requires effort, it requires direction, and it takes a sustained daily commitment to moving forward, especially when the terrain gets really rough.
Section 2. Defining the Stoic, the path of Stoicism. Let's look at our first contender in this matchup, the Stoic. A practitioner of Stoicism doesn't just passively endure life, they actively confront it using airtight logic and radical acceptance. The core insight here is ruthlessly separating what you can control, so your own thoughts, your choices, your reactions, from what you absolutely cannot control, like the weather, the economy, or other people's opinions. The Stoic represents a distinct, standalone method that we're evaluating purely for its ability to forge inner peace through extreme, unshakable resilience.
Walking the Stoic's path is literally like putting on a suit of impenetrable armor before you head into battle. When faced with a crisis, you don't panic, you observe. You actually train yourself to view obstacles not as catastrophic failures, but as totally necessary tests of your character. It is a highly structured methodology for navigating life's challenges, and it relies on a completely fortified mind to maintain absolute calm right in the center of the storm.
Section 3. Defining the Sage, the path of Buddhism. Now enter the Sage. And wow, the representative of Buddhism brings a completely different energy to the table. Where the Stoic braces against the storm, the Sage focuses on eliminating the internal resistance to the storm altogether. This path is built entirely on letting go of rigid attachments, practicing really deep mindfulness, and cultivating compassion. It's an alternative route toward that exact same destination of peace, but man, it uses an entirely different psychological engine to get you there. Think about it like this. If the Stoic is driving a heavily armored tank through rocky terrain, the Sage is navigating a river, just flowing like water around the boulders rather than smashing into them. The Sage's path teaches us that our suffering primarily comes from grasping way too tightly to how we wish things were, rather than just accepting how they naturally are. It's a totally contrasting route. It's about yielding rather than fighting, and yet it promises to deliver you to the exact same serene finish line.
Section 4. Comparing the two paths. Stoicism versus Buddhism.
All right, this is the ultimate clash of philosophical titans. The Stoic on one side, the Sage on the exact opposite side. We aren't just looking at parallel, friendly ideas that sit neatly together on a library shelf. No, these are competing frameworks in the ring together. One teaches you to heavily fortify your mind against unpredictable external events. The other teaches you to dissolve the ego that feels threatened by those events in the very first place. When we rigorously evaluate these paths against one another, their fundamental differences really shine. How do their specific methods actually clash? Well, the Stoic seeks absolute control over their internal judgments to achieve peace, whereas the Buddhist sage seeks liberation from desire and attachment entirely. We are judging them strictly on their functional ability to get you to tranquility. So how effectively does bracing for impact compare to learning how to float? It really all comes down to this brilliantly clear, actionable 3-step blueprint for life. Step 1, choose a philosophy. Step 2, follow the path. Step 3, arrive at peace. Sounds super simple, right? But the true secret is entirely in the execution. You have to commit to the framework, and you have to actively practice its principles every single day. Only then do you unlock that final result. Without the rigorous, sometimes messy effort of actually walking the path, the destination of peace is pretty much impossible to reach.
Section 5. Which one actually works? The final verdict. So to recap, we have our two profound archetypes, the Stoic and the Sage. We have two very distinct philosophies, Stoicism and Buddhism, and they share one unified destination, peace. But hovering above all of this incredible theory is the absolute ultimate question of functional success. At the end of the day, when the pressure is really on and life throws you a serious curveball, which one actually gets the job done?
Stoicism versus Buddhism. Which philosophy actually works? That single word is the absolute crux of this entire debate. A philosophy is completely useless if it just shatters upon contact with reality. Any idea can sound beautiful in a book, at a dinner party, or, in a quiet meditation room. But we're demanding a real-world functional verdict here. When you are deeply stressed, under fire, and just completely overwhelmed, which path actually serves as a reliable, unbreakable blueprint for keeping your calm?
And that is exactly the powerful question I'm leaving you with today. When the inevitable chaos of daily life hits, which path will you rely on for your own peace? Are you going to put on the resilient, logical armor of the Stoic? Or will you choose the flowing, mindful acceptance of the Sage? Think deeply about how these competing frameworks might operate in your own life tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and definitely keep questioning.